Hey guys, what's up? What's happening? The King Games 98 here at your service. How you doing? Hope y'all are doing good and staying safe. And I am so happy and excited right now because a certain video game this past Thursday got re-released on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X/S. And the game in question I'm talking about is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the video game, the complete edition. And as of this video, I already bought the game and have it downloaded onto my Nintendo Switch. I want to also buy and download the game onto my PlayStation 4 as well, so I can have it on two different consoles, and one of them it'll at least be a handheld and portable on. But that's besides the point. So for this video today, I'm going to be doing an in-depth movie review of none other than Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Okay, guys, so take a seat, get comfy, grab a snack, grab a drink, grab a beer, whatever, and I am going to be doing an in-depth movie review of Scott Pilgrim versus the World, like how I did my movie review videos of Alita Battle Angel and the Ghost in the Shell 2017 live action movie. So this is not going to be a 5-minute long movie review, just putting that out there now. And on top of that, I'm going to go through and talk about the whole movie. So there will be spoilers. But at this point in time, I'm pretty sure you either saw this movie already or you haven't. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. The movie opens up with establishing that it takes place in Toronto, Canada. Scott Pilgrim is dating a high schooler. Zelda music plays as the camera pans down to a house. Scott Pilgrim, played by Michael Cera, gets interrogated by his friends about who she is. Scott's girlfriend, Knives Chow, played by Ellen Wong, knocks on the door and is introduced to Stephen Stills, played by Mark Webber, Kim Pine, played by Allison Pill, and Young Neil, played by Johnny Simmons. Knives is watching the band Scott is in, which is called the Sex Bob-omb, practicing. Knives is blown away by their performance, even though all the lead singer says is yeah a few times. Kim hates that Scott is a 22-year-old who is dating Knives, who is a 17-year-old. Afterwards, Scott goes back to his apartment and is greeted by his roommate, Wallace Wells, played by Kieran Culkin, which has to be Macaulay Culkin's brother. So that's pretty funny, and they actually do look alike, at least I thought so. Scott tells Wallace that he's dating a 17-year-old and to not tell anyone that, especially his sister. Wallace then texts Scott's sister about it, and she calls his apartment phone. Stacy Pilgrim, played by Anna Kendrick, questions why he's dating Knives, and Scott can't give her a reason. The next day, Scott and Wallace are waiting for Knives to get done school for the day. Scott introduces Knives to Wallace. Scott and Knives go to an arcade and play a Dance Dance Revolution type game. After that, they get pizza and stop in a Goodwill store. They go in a record store where Julie Powers, played by Aubrey Plaza, asks Scott if he's coming to her party. Knives starts to talk about the band Clash at Demon Head, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that is the name of an NES game. Let me know that in the comments. To anyone watching this, if you know, please do let me know that. As far as Knives starts to talk about the band Clash at Demon Head to Scott, who changes the subject back to him. As they're walking, Scott shows Knives his apartment and the house he grew up in. It's right across the street from his apartment. Scott has a bad dream that he is alone in a desert and a girl on roller skates goes by him, waking him up. Wallace wakes up alongside his boyfriend, whose name, I'm not making this up, it legitimately said this in the movie, whose name was Other Scott, who was played by Ben Lewis, and reminds Scott that he's late for taking Knives to the library. While there, Scott sees the girl on roller skates from his bad dream. Scott and his band members go to a party, even though Scott doesn't want to. Scott runs into. I'm not really sure how this guy's character's name is pronounced, so I'm probably going to butcher this. Scott runs into Camus, played by Nelson Franklin, and asks him if he knows a girl with pink hair. Camus tells Scott that is Ramona Flowers and that she is supposed to be coming to the party. Scott finds her standing by a wall all by herself and goes over to talk to her. Scott then stalks her until she leaves. He then goes around asking a bunch of people about what they know on Ramona Flowers. Julie tells Scott not to hit on her and that she's out of his league. At his apartment, Wallace comes home drunk, and Scott tells him he met the woman of his dreams. Wallace tells Stacy that Scott is juggling two women in his life, and she calls him to talk to him about it. Scott gets an email saying he has been challenged to a duel to the death. He thinks nothing of it and deletes it. Knives surprises Scott at his apartment and they go out to different stores. The whole time Knives is talking to Scott, he isn't really paying attention to her. Steven tells Scott, Knives, Kim, and young Neil that he got Sex Babam a gig at the Toronto Battle of the Bands. Ramona shows up at Scott's apartment with what he ordered off of Amazon. He convinces her to hang out with him to get to know the area better. Ramona and Scott talk, getting to know each other better. Ramona brings Scott back to her apartment where Scott walks in on Ramona getting changed. She then kisses him and they make out in her bed. The following day, Scott invites Ramona to watch his band play in the Battle of the Bands and gets Ramona's phone number. Stacy gets Scott caught red-handed when Ramona sees Knives kiss Scott. Stacy talks to Ramona and Knives just as Sex Babam gets on stage. Halfway through singing, Matthew Patel, played by Satya Bahabha, sorry if I pronounced that name wrong, breaks through the roof and starts fighting Scott. They have an all-out Street Fighter-like fight that ends in Scott winning, Ramona leaving, and Wallace making out with Stacy's boyfriend. Ramona and Scott take a bus home together where Ramona tells Scott that if they continue dating, he will have to defeat her 7 deadly ex-boyfriends. Or, as they also call it, 7 deadly exes. The next day, Scott invites Ramona over his apartment for dinner that night. Wallace gives him an ultimatum to break up with Knives today. Scott breaks up with Knives in the most awkward way possible. At the next band practice, Scott tells his bandmates that he broke up with Knives. Scott then plays the background music from Final Fantasy II on his guitar. That was pretty cool. Steven tells everyone no more boyfriend-girlfriend talk and no more bringing their boyfriend-girlfriend to band practices. Just then, Ramona stops by to get Scott. They go back to Scott's apartment and eat garlic bread, kiss, and go for a walk. They meet up with Wallace at this castle where a movie is being filmed at. The famous actor starring in this movie is Lucas Lee, played by Chris Evans, which is another one of Ramona's ex-boyfriends. They fight, and Scott tricks Lucas into grinding on his skateboard down a long, snowy railing. He ends up blowing up at the end of the railing. Knives comes to Scott's apartment the next day looking for him. Scott goes to visit Stacy at the coffee store, and it's Julie behind the counter instead of his sister. While at the coffee store, Scott runs into Ramona and then runs into Envy Adams, played by Brie Larson, his old ex-girlfriend. Steven tells the band that Envy asked Sex Babam to open for them. Knives gets the idea to dye her hair blue and date young Neil. Clash at Demon Head performs, and the club goes crazy. Envy Adams invites Sex Babam backstage to talk. That leads into Todd Ingram, played by Brandon Ruth, fighting Scott. The fight escalates to a guitar-bass battle where Scott loses. Scott tricks Todd into drinking half and half coffee, and the, no joke, vegan police take away his powers. Scott then headbutts Todd, defeating him. At the after party, Roxy Richter, played by Mae Whitman, another one of Ramona's exes, goes to fight Scott, but Ramona steps in. Scott doesn't want to hit a girl, but Ramona helps defeat her. The next band, Sex Bomb, has to go against are the Katayanagi Katayanagi twins. Excuse me if I butchered that. Played by Kaita Saito and Shota Saito, and are the next people Scott has to defeat. The two bands create animals from their music and they fight each other. That was actually pretty epic. One was like a dragon, I think the other one was like an ogre. The Sex Bob-ombs win and Ramona goes back to Gideon. Gideon signs Sex Bob-omb to a 3-album contract, but Scott doesn't sign the contract. Stephen, Kim, and Neil sign the contract. Scott and Stacy talk about Ramona in the park. Back at Scott's apartment, Gideon calls him to invite him to the opening of his new Chaos Theater, where Sex Bob-omb is playing. Scott goes to the Chaos Theater to confront Gideon, played by Jason Schwartzman, over stealing Ramona away from him. Scott gets the emotion of love and pulls a flaming red sword out of his chest, almost like he leveled up. Actually, I think it does actually say he leveled up. After defeating all of Gideon's guards, Scott charges at Gideon with his sword. Gideon blocks Scott's attack, and Scott's sword shatters. Knives comes out of nowhere and interrupts Scott and Gideon's fight, only to fight Ramona for breaking Scott's heart. Gideon sneaks up behind Scott and stabs him through the chest with his sword. Then Scott remembers having earlier grabbed a 1-up. Scott uses it to have a second chance at fighting Gideon. Scott makes up with Knives and Ramona, apologizing for cheating on both of them. Scott and Knives fight Gideon, and Scott kicks Gideon right in his face, blowing him apart into pieces. Gideon's glasses call to him, and he picks them up. In the glasses reflection, he sees Nega Scott. Scott, getting ready to fight Nega Scott all by himself, then comes out of the building with Nega Scott as friends, making plans for, I think, brunch for like next week. That was really funny. Scott talks to Knives and Ramona starts to walk away. Knives convinces Scott to go after Ramona, and Scott and Ramona walk through a door in the middle of the street. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the movie, reviewed. The end. So, wow, I got to be completely honest with you guys. I'm actually kind of surprised how fast I got through that. Not that that's a bad thing, but I'm just a little surprised. Okay, so I had really wanted to do a movie review of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And then when Ubisoft announced that they were going to be bringing the game back and re-releasing it for modern consoles, and it was going to be the complete edition with DLC included, I was like, oh my god, this is a sign. This is the time. I have to do this now. So I know the game technically re-released this past Thursday, but it's Sunday when I'm recording this, and it's going up on my YouTube channel, so it's only 3 days later. I think that counts and is still relevant. So since I really finished I finished reading all that pretty fast, I'll just talk about some information that I wrote down about the movie. So, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie, came out in 2010. The runtime of the movie is 1 hour and 52 minutes, which I didn't think was too long, and I didn't think it was too short. I thought it was just enough to tell the story and conclude. I absolutely love the story of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. It's a great story. The cast. Oh my god. I did not... Okay, so, truth be told, it's been a long time since I last watched Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie. And for this movie review, I did actually like with the Alita Battle Angel and Ghost in the Shell live action movie review videos, I actually sat through and watched the movies and then wrote all this down. I'm not going to even show you guys because it's a lot. Uh, and I just, scene by scene, I would write down what was happening, and that's what I read off to you guys. That's what I just did for this. And so I really forgot the great freaking actors and actresses that are in this movie. Brie Larson, freaking Captain Marvel, Brandon Ruth. He played Superman in Superman Returns. Not that it's a great movie, and not that I'm really a big Superman fan, but still, you know. And actually, furthermore, Brandon Ruth also played the Atom on DC's Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. He's freaking awesome. Uh, Aubrey Plaza, that's her name, right? Yeah. I know her from being in the NBC sitcom Parks and Recreation. Great show, by the way. So it's like, oh my god, just the amount of great actors and actresses that were in this movie are really great, and they freaking made the movie. I don't know, I can't say enough good about it. This movie has some of the best video game effects I think I have ever seen in a movie ever. Now, I don't really know if you would call this movie a video game movie, but it sure felt like it to me, so I am going to consider it a video game movie. Another thing, video game related, that this movie did phenomenally was it had amazing video game sprite animations. Very, very good. Just like its video game counterpart does. Also has fantastic sprite animation. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie, is based off of Scott Pilgrim, the graphic novel series by Brian O'Malley. Yes. And one other thing that I was going to write down in this list, but I never did, was a favorite scene of mine from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie. And yes, I know, I'm sure to those of you who are watching this that are fans of this movie and or the video game, I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, oh my god, there's so many good scenes in this movie. How could you choose just one? I know, trust me, I get it. It is very hard to choose just one. But if I had to pick just one that I would say is my favorite scene from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie, I would have to go with the scene where Knives stops by Scott's apartment to talk to him to see if he's there, and Wallace answers the door. And she goes, "Is Scott here?" And just as she asks that, you see Scott in the background fly through the air, break through the window, and leap out the window. And just as he does that, you hear the window crashing and breaking. And then Wallace goes, Scott just went out. He'll be back in a little bit though. Oh my god. I lost it. The first time I watched this movie and that scene happened, I lost it. It was so gosh darn freaking funny. Oh my god. But, speaking of funny moments in this movie, oh my god, there's so many of them. I could go on and on about that, but I'm not going to. So, that is by far my favorite scene from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie. Now, that's pretty much all I wanted to say and have to say about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie. I can't say a single bad thing about this movie. This movie is awesome. It is, like I said, I'm going to consider it a video game movie. It is by far the best video game movie I have ever seen. The only other one that comes to mind is I think the 2013 Tomb Raider movie. That was really good too. But this is freaking awesome. So, if you're a fan of video games, nerdy stuff, in general, and have not seen Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie, I highly, highly recommend it. Oh my gosh, I can't recommend this movie enough. So, without further ado, guys, my final rating for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie, is going to be a perfect 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. This means a lot because of how much I enjoyed both the movie and video game that the excuse me, the video game got re-released on modern consoles. I love it. I freaking love it. Uh I really at some point want to play through and beat the game and then do a video game review video on the game. So, not sure when that's going to happen, but at some point in the future, do look for that. And without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Take care.